Welcome to Level 1 Restoration Behind the Scenes. We're here today with Jeff and I are going to take a look at this 1980 Oldsmobile Holiday 88 in an episode of what makes this car cool. And so we're here in a building and the business, we are surrounded by a bunch of cars that no one would argue are cool. But we particularly do like this 1980 Oldsmobile, and we're going to tell you why. So basically, this came to us from a customer of ours in Canada, and we restored a 70 Judge for Marty, and it was a wonderful car, and he wanted us to do this Oldsmobile, which, man, we're booked up forever, and I just didn't really want to do it. So we brought it in, and one of our subbers handled the body and paint, which the thing was almost...
It was beautiful.
Yeah.
It's been so cared for its whole life.
Oh my gosh. It did have some lacquer checking and stuff on the hood and the tops of the panels. So yeah, I guess it did need to be repainted. So we did that. But let's get into some of the stuff that we think makes this car cool. So what do you think, Jeff? We were surprised by a couple of people that have walked through the building.
Yes, people of the right generation, a few years older than us, they've really cast their eyes to this one. When they walk through here, they don't see the other cars here, they see this. So it left a soft spot in a lot of people's minds, apparently, when these came out. They talk about it over the cutlasses. Oh, this is a great car, can't believe this.
It does stand out. So let's talk just a little bit about what a Holiday 88 is. This is a very unique car. You've got your 98s and your 88s, and but this is a Holiday 88, which is a very special car. You're going to be surprised. So it's a factory bucket seat console floor shift car, which is pretty neat.
Pretty unusual for this era.
Stuff. Yeah, absolutely. And we're going to read some of the standard features for this car, but this car, ordered by our customer Marty's uncle, was a staggering $11,000 brand new. And that doesn't sound like a lot today, but in 1979, a Trans Am 10th anniversary edition was $10,000 $600, and a turbo pace car 1980 Trans Am was $11,140 or something like this. So this car out the door actually got above $12,000 with all the dealer business that was attached to it. So this was a really expensive car in 1980. Let's have a look at some of the features that we really enjoy about this car.
Well, the bucket and console combination is fantastic. I mean, it's really a good setup. The seats are spectacular. They fit you well. They're so comfortable. The console's in a great spot. The steering wheel that comes with the package, that's a good looking wheel.
That is a nice looking steering wheel, and you normally wouldn't have that. You would have, you know, a more mundane, maybe a mono bar, you know, a 3-spoke that just was pretty ugly, you know. Things were a little bit challenged in the 1980 period.
They were cheap. This is not cheap at all. I mean, you can really feel and see how nice this car is built. The seats are nice and padded. The door panels, there's no plastic in the door panels. They're just nice, padded, well done, beautiful trimmed, carpeted. The dash pad, it's really well designed. It's got good details in it.
So I'm going to read from some literature from when this car was brand new. And here's what Oldsmobile said about this Holiday 88. It's a new idea in sport coupes. Holiday 88 comes with front bucket seats, sport console, T-handle floor shifter, sport steering wheel, custom wheel disc, dual sport mirrors, and a special Holiday 88 insignia, basically the emblem on the roof here. All Holiday 88, and the Holiday 88 isn't all show. You can make it go with a range of available V8s. It's equipped with the GM-built engines. That was a rough time. produced by various divisions for your dealer. Ask your dealer for details. So what is really cool about this car, and this is the only way I would want this car, it has a real Oldsmobile 350 4-barrel engine, which is a great engine. It was great from the day they made it, and it was really good all the way through the whole end of the era of that engine. And it's interesting, they talk about a variety of V8 engines. So, you know, this was one thing that always stuck out. An Oldsmobile would have been a lot more expensive to make this engine than it would have been your average, say, small block Chevy.
Yep.
And I know over in the Pontiac world that, for example, a Pontiac had a machine combustion chamber, and it was more efficient than a cast combustion chamber. And it took 5 more processes to make a Pontiac head than it did a small block Chevy head. And they're, you know, a small block Chevy head still is going to run.
It's a good head.
Yeah, it's going to go for 100,000 miles. The car's going to rust out in most cases before the engine dies. So really you can see where in this rough era, when no one cared about high performance anymore, why it might not be attractive to use the more expensive to manufacture engine. I mean, I would argue they're better, but when people trade their car in before 100,000 miles, does it really matter? Yeah, it really didn't matter. Sadly, that's where we got to with these cars. But so we mentioned a couple things. Here's that Holiday 88.
The wheel covers.
So these wheel covers, we got new old stock wheel covers, and I ordered them, found them with the help of Marty. They came in, and then what had to be done to them from there?
They're supposed to be color matched to the car, and they weren't. So we, popped the emblems off and then masked them up and painted them single stage black, so they matched the car like it was.
So when you're talking about what makes a car cool, black.
Black and red.
It's a black car, red interior. It's like that's probably one of the more common fake color combinations you could find, right?
And Marty's uncle certainly picked the best one he could have. I can't imagine there was a better option.
So yeah, absolutely real to this car. A lot of the brochures showed a burgundy car, which would be okay, but black is always better. And so you think of 80s as a bad time. Look at how nice that shuts.
Look at how nice that shuts.
Absolutely wonderful. As a bad time, but when you look at this car and you really spend some time, there is a lot of detail. There's nice body lines on it. I think this stripe really accentuates it.
Beautiful.
Yeah, it's really, really neat. And then the trunk lid, I really like how it is set down in there. And so there's a ridge all the way around.
This body line, like spoiler, and how it dips deeper at the edges, but it's much shallower in the middle. Right, they really were putting body lines and characteristics into these cars still.
Yeah,
they were trying.
Absolutely still trying. And the reason they weren't as cool as a 70, generally speaking, is just because of the government.
They had to put their money, their resources into other things, unfortunately.
Right, impact bumpers and all kinds of junk. Who cares if you mess up your face in a head-on collision?
Right. Make sure the car looks good.
As long as the car looks neat, who cares, right? So another interesting thing about the Holiday 88 that is unique to these cars would be the taillights. These taillights are for this car only.
Right, back to 60s era styling.
Yeah. Now you could have an 88, a regular 88, had its own taillight. A 98 had its own taillight. And I don't know if there was another one in there. It's hard to imagine. But a 1980, I don't know if it went a year or two with the taillight or not, but I know it's unique to a Holiday 88.
That's impressive.
That is really something. Not something you would expect in this era.
While we're down here looking at it, I love this little piece of stainless trim that caps the bumper. I don't know if it's to help keep the rubber from wearing or what its purpose is, but just the extras that this car still has that you think would be long gone by this point. This trim along here, how nice is that? And it all fits so well.
And that probably goes into why this car would have been so expensive. And then, of course, it was really important for Marty that we retained. I think I had numerous emails on this and text messages. Make sure that the City Chevrolet tag is still on there and with the car. So we, of course, cleaned that up and popped it right back on there where it should go, which I think is really cool. He's preserving a family history with this car, with his uncle being the original owner. And so that's neat.
He's done a great job.
A lot of what makes a car cool is the history.
The family history that goes along with it. And he's got two cars now with great family history that he can claim.
Absolutely. So, I mean, I guess the uncle could have gotten just a regular 88 four-door, and it wouldn't have been worth doing.
It wouldn't be here right now.
Yeah. So, and then, so really in that situation, the dollar value of the car is really irrelevant.
Yes.
Right? This is a family heirloom. But I wouldn't, I would speculate that if this particular car, if we put all of the GM of Canada paperwork up and we dry ice blast the underneath of this car, and from Calgary area, which is north of Montana, and Alberta rather, and all that whole area there, it's dry like it is here in Colorado. That's the Rocky Mountain region of Canada. So they have nice, clean, dry air. So we cleaned up the underneath of this car in the engine compartment, which will show you the engine compartment. It's very nice. This is a rust-free car. And I believe it has 60,000 original miles.
Okay,
so
I believe it.
It was a worthy car to keep. I would argue that I would have a hard time saving a four-door sedan.
Even for sentimental reasons.
Right, or if it was rusty. But wow, I never knew one of these existed.
No, I don't know what this is. This is all new.
I would say that when these cars were new, I liked them. I like the Cutlasses. I like the Buicks that were just like this, like a Park Avenue, long hood, short deck. They had basically the same roof. I felt they were neat cars.
They were good looking cars.
Yeah, when they were new. And that, I mean, I'm like maybe in junior high at that time, you're grade school.
Yeah, I'm grade school, but I remember these weren't bad. Of all the garbage that was being produced,
yes,
and my dad would just complain about all the ugly cars out there, you could still see that this was good stuff.
Not bad.
They were trying.
I one time helped a neighbor. He had a Bonneville that had a 403, and it was like a 77, and it needed new lifters, which was a really odd thing. Anyway, I did that job for him, and I'm like, 22 years old, out in my gravel driveway, put a whole set of lifters in a 77 Bonneville for the guy. And by the time I was all done, I'm like, this car's kind of cool. I don't think I'll tell anybody,
cool.
But
right, you keep that to yourself. But yeah, this car's kind of cool.
Right. But just a couple of other things I wanted to point about what makes it cool. I really do also like the body trim, the lower body side trim. I guess you could almost hearken back to a 67 GTO.
It's got definite 60s GM wide rocker moldings.
And nice wheel opening moldings. And now I don't love it, but the body side moldings on this, most of this is original to the car. There was a couple of pieces Marty, the customer, sourced these new old stock. And so, but that was really important. I'd have been tempted to leave them off. It's not the end of the world. But
no, but they're real to the car. They're not horrible. There's far worse ones out there.
And it's real GM. We just didn't get this from the auto parts store and cut them to size. These are real factory.
They're the proper ones.
It's on the paperwork there. But I guess it'd be kind of fun to, read through some of the options that this car has in addition to the Holiday 88 package. And one of the things that Jeff pointed out, I skipped right over it, is it's listed on the GM of Canada paperwork that it has a steel hood. And I do recall Cutlasses from that era with aluminum hoods. So
they did.
And we don't know if that's an option or not because the Canadian paperwork kind of lists everything.
Right.
Yeah.
But why would it call it out? Is it
Right.
where it's going that it requires it to have a steel hood versus an aluminum one? Or?
Right. And of course, they're looking to save weight on these cars, you know, with body side impact beams all the way through here. This is probably a pretty heavy car, and they didn't care that much about its quarter mile time.
But maybe with a 350, it gets a standard good hood.
Right, maybe. Or they were clearly motivated by fuel economy, the best they could. And these had an overdrive or a lockup torque converter, and they were, you know, doing all those 80s era things to try to make it halfway decent, I guess. But what's some of that other stuff on here?
It's loaded to the gills. Right, like the hubcaps, they're standard to the car, right? But they're still on the paperwork. Cruise control, dual mirrors, floor console, obviously. Body stripe, right? We don't know if that's standard or not.
It calls out an 8.5 ring gear. So it's telling us the size of the ring gear and a 308 gear, which is a little bit of a gear. Right, there were a lot
for this era. Yes,
Yeah.
I would expect it to be in the 2s.
Yeah, a lot of 80s or 70s era, even Trans Ams famously had that 240 gear, which is crazy.
Yeah.
So
An engine block heater, of course.
yes, almost standard for Canadian cars.
Cruise control, fuel tank, 96 liters, or 25.5 gallons.
Right, tilt wheel, sport mirrors. Heavy duty battery, right?
Radios all over the place. AM, FM, stereo, cassette, accommodation package, stereo installation provisions. They got serious for it.
Wow. This is a 3-page GM of Canada report. It literally took 3 pages. I mean, normally, like on his Judge, I think it is all contained into 1 page, and it had a good amount of options on it.
So the body side moldings are an option. He paid for it. Body accent stripes he paid for.
I see here a heavy-duty engine and transcooler. I don't know what that would have consisted of. And then all of that, so no trade.
No trade.
Didn't trade a car in. And here it says 10,600. He put 500 down, so that would make it the 11,100 right here. But it says total delivered price, $12,397.
Jeez. Go Arnold.
Okay, so in an era of crash bumpers and safety first type of a thing, this car managed to be a good looking car, but here is an unusual device here. So when the door is closed, I guess it allows the seat belt to function normally, right? Or the seat release. It's a seat belt.
It's a seat belt.
Seat belt. So when this came to us, the driver's door here, this was busted because it's just a plastic part. And you think about all the cold and, you know, all the times
it wasn't overly developed.
Twice as many times as the other side. So there is not a replacement part for this. But what we ended up doing, and this is just like a public service announcement for anyone that owns one of these cars, they do sell one through this G-Body website, where they have a lot of Cutlass, and I don't know if they have Beyond Oldsmobile or not, but it probably have Buicks and Pontiacs and stuff. But anyway, the Cutlass one, we used it to repair this. It's not a direct bolt-in. There's a shaft, and it's a different length, but it wasn't too big of a deal. So if you have a full-size Oldsmobile from this era with this goofy seatbelt release deal, it can be repaired using the G-Body Cutlass parts that are available for that. It wasn't rocket science. It was a pretty easy thing. So just a quick PSA there. So here we are taking a look under the hood here. I can see a couple of things. There's the cruise control, and it looks like the power brake and the master cylinder. Master cylinder goes all the way straight back to 1970, it looks, right?
Yep.
It probably wasn't long after this car when they started putting plastic ones and stuff on there. And then, of course, underneath of all that junk is the 354 barrel engine. We really didn't do anything here, cleaned it up a little bit. And that's really about it. Just a quick detail under the hood here. I mean, if we were doing a no expense spared, oh, that's neat.
Right,
But
have they even used
it
it?
doesn't look like it's ever been out of there. If we were doing a no expense spared restoration, we'd have got rid of that replacement red hose and little tiny things like that. But I mean, original radiator cap, the clamps.
Clamps.
This was the modern era of that, you know, they were trying to
The small compressor.
get more efficient with that. And I'm going to point a thing out. If you didn't live in this era like we did, so we lived in this era when we parted these cars out or went into the wrecking yard or did any work on a car we drove or whatever, take a look at this blue bolt here. I don't even have to ask you. You know what that blue bolt means?
It's metric.
It's metric. And so when you're working underneath of your Trans Am or whatever, in my case, I would get to the motor mount bolt and there'd be that dumb blue bolt and I would have to go out and find a metric socket or
Stop
whatever.
everything.
Oh my gosh, that was terrible. But, and I'd say in general that kind of made us not that enthusiastic about these cars.
No, it helped turn us off for sure.
But looking back now 40-something years, I really can have an appreciation for this car that I would have never had before. Always thought it was generally good looking. Now I could own it.
Now I actually like it.
Yeah, as
Now
a
I actually
collector
like it.
car.
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely. And over the last 45 years, I've probably got almost a complete set of metric sockets and wrenches, maybe.
Maybe?
Maybe.
One at a time?
Yeah, I think so. Junkyard underneath the seats.
Yep,
Ooh, a
yep.
10.
Ugh.
Right. So anyway, we hope you liked taking a look at this unusual car on an episode of What Makes This Car Cool. And we really appreciate you tuning in and checking out. We'd love to hear comments on if you have a car of this era or whatever. Let us know, and please like and subscribe.